welcome to the stream, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be continuing my shiny hunt for Cobalion here. Cowabunga, dude. Yeah. Alright, this will be 560. Currently over odd. Or maybe I'm actually still under. I was definitely losing track occasionally of my count. Just because very much kind of like ranting in the conversation. The stream. But you know, that's even better. That way time was flying. Hello, Gordon. Hope you're doing well. Hope it's groovy over there. Oh. Hoping that it won't go beyond today. But you can never know. Right. You never truly feel it. Raj. Me go and go. Valley. Hey, upgrade the bulk of the stream. Hope you're doing well. What is that going on? You're just Cobalion. Hey. Cobalion. Yeah, the level 4 donut goes so fast. Doing well, gonna be hunting every single legendary besides Mesprit and Cresselia and PDSP. Gonna be tedious, but I want to do full odds that shiny resets. I mean, that's a goal to have. Seems like you gotta play it out there, the plan. Are you starting a fresh file, or have you never played those before? Big Valley. Wall. Oh, I see. Well, there you go. Perfect. Perfect. Start. Fresh file. So far in this hunt, I have found, at the very beginning I had the guaranteed shiny, so I got him a choke. I did spawn in a Shelfa Yolu, but I couldn't catch it, or it would have messed up the hunt, because it was just too close to the timer. But then one of the times I reset, instantaneously it was a shiny Lucario that when I ran past it, so I caught it real quick. And that's why whenever I reset, I'm starting right under the tunnel here. I guess I could have saved right in front of it. No, actually I don't. If you save in front of it, doesn't it just save? Yeah, it would just save on. That actually is better. Because then I'd have to run out to respawn it. So, in theory, why does that look like it for a second? The lighting. So whenever I do end up finding Cobalion, I'll be walking away with at least a Machoke and a Lucario as well. I keep thinking about the shelf Riolu because honestly, I already have Cobalion, like in home and some other game that I've caught it in. Definitely in Go, I've caught it. But yeah, I don't know. Like I was thinking about it in the big picture. Yeah, it would have been annoying because I'd have to restart this scan again, randomly finding it, and then I'd have to have the proper donut, which is also kind of random, tedious. So between those two things, like I didn't want to catch the Shelfa Riolu, but then I think about it and I'm like, I don't need that. I'm just doing it to like 100% the game, which I'll probably never even realistically. I don't know. It's just like a weird, because I put so much time already doing the hunt. I was like, feels like anticlimactic to get the Shelfa Riolu, but simultaneously it's like, well, maybe if down the line I end up getting a Shelfa Lucario, it won't matter. But I mean, fortunately, I don't actually really care much for Lucario in general. I feel like it would be a more difficult decision. Like if I liked Lucario, I probably would have got it and pretty much free the rain check on this. But yeah, I think that ultimately it's probably more tedious to find this scan again and like actually have a donut that's proper for this hunt. So yeah. I mean, if you've noticed, I can only really get in like 7 or 8 and check before it despawns and kicks me out. Like if I spawned it in early enough, I probably would have tried to catch it. But from what I remember, it was like, if I did catch it, I probably would have only been able to get like 1 or 2 checks on Cobalion every time I like reloaded. And I think that would have just been okay. Oh, I didn't even know you gave up on Cobalion. Huh. So you didn't do all the legendaries yet in ZA for shinies. I will admit, like that's like the funny thing about my thought process here is like I think ultimately in the big picture I should have caught the Riolu. And just like if I wasn't even for making content, I probably would have just done that. Like realistic. But I'm also like so hyper focused on this hunt, and I feel like it's like the cost fallacy aspect of it. Like I'm not. I guess like this, like what I'm trying to say. I probably will never go out of my way to actually get a Shelfa Lucario or Riolu. So that was probably like my guaranteed one I could have got. Okay, so you only got Terrakion and Latias. I didn't know that. I mean, this hunt in theory shouldn't be... maybe it's because you actually have to run. Terrakion, you just kind of have... well, actually run with Terrakion. Alright, this will be the final. There really is not enough. I need to give my... I need to not check past 2 something. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'll get this shiny and I'll just... gotta have some drama, some stake in a stream. It makes... at least I have a picture of the Alpha Riolu. And trick my brain into thinking I ended up catching it. I mean, like, archiving it is almost like just good, you know? Because otherwise, it's just like my word versus your, like, what you perceive it. Am I being truthful or not? But it has. Yeah, I'm honestly not really a huge fan of it. I like never, like, even like as a Pokemon to use on BGC. I tried using it before back in the X and Y era on BGC, like, on some tournaments I went to, but I just like never really like connect with it. I do feel like Focus Sash Lucario maybe even better than Mega Lucario to some degree. The thing is, back then, it was, you didn't know what item they were running until you did the first battle. Like, in those tournaments, Scarlet and Violet's the first generation that has had open PG. Like, you had to pretty much scout for what item and moves they were running in the very first battle. And a lot of times in that generation, you would run multiple Pokemon on your team that had the potential to Mega. But only one Pokemon on your team could actually Mega. So you wouldn't really know, am I facing a Focus Sash Lucario or a Mega Lucario? And that could be detrimental based on your decision. It's kind of similar to how when you're playing like Armor Rouge on ranked online, because you don't actually know the Terra type and item, and there's a few different approaches you can go with, where Armor Rouge can kind of just like completely set up and sweep the team. And you can pretty much trick people just based on your team comp. I think though, ultimately, open sheets probably... I remember like at the beginning people were feeling like worried maybe open team sheet might not be good. I think realistically what it's done is it's just made it so you can't really just bring extreme gimmicks to tournaments, which ultimately wouldn't really succeed anyways once you once someone figures out your gimmick, like they can kind of like play through it. But I feel like with open team sheet it's more about like relying on consistency. And you can still bring in, like, the cool thing about Pokemon is a lot of times when things become like meta or common, it's almost better as a competitive player because you can actually build some sort of like anti-meta or counter on your team to the type of like threat. When a game doesn't really have much of a centralized meta, it actually, I feel like, isn't as fun to play competitively, believe it or not. I mean, I'm the type of person, I'm super into fights. Every format of a game I play, I always try to play it in a way that's just like either on hard mode or just kind of, you know, deviating from what everyone else is doing just because they want to win, you know. Like, I want to win too, but I want to win using Pokemon that shouldn't be able to just easily win. So when I win, it makes me feel like, you know, more exciting of a battle. Because, you know, underdog type thing. You know, I don't know. I've just always been that way with video games. But Pokemon's cool in that regard because, you know, even like a lot of times at regionals, you'll see there's a team that's like an outlier, and it's just because because the meta becomes so centralized that someone can actually bring something that's not even necessarily spicy, but it's more of like an answer to very common threats, and then it just kind of like hooks in the tournament because a lot of people, you know, it's like a comes out of nowhere type of thing, even though it's there. Like I saw in a recent regional, for example, I think it was Salamence was being used. And a big reason for that was because I think it was like Urshifu was common, like the grass types, fire types, like Incineroar. Like, Salamence sits here in a very unique position where it can resist a lot of these guys. But of course, there's still like the fairy types you gotta worry about. But that's already on everyone's radar anyway, like Fluttermane. But it's cool to see that because, you know, it's like dragons for sure, like can struggle, like Roaring Moon and such, especially being 4 times a week fairy type. But they also, because of like grass cultivation, of course, you can find yourself like putting it on your team, and it actually ends up becoming like a powerhouse because so many people are building things that are resisting fairy types in Fluttermane that they're like declaring like weakness to be offensive against like a flying dragon type. Or, you know, just like a dragon type. I don't know, it's very interesting. Thank you, Indigo, for the follow. Hope you're doing well. I don't really like playing a lot of the like meta in general, but I do think if you are someone that's just getting into competitive Pokemon, it's just the fastest way to learn the game. Is just take what's already working and try to understand why is this good. You know, if you can use like a Pokemon like Moongus relatively good, then, you know, you can figure out why people make different decisions on a Moon, like different speed tiers. Like, why would someone invest 4 speed in a Moongus? How's it going, Indigo? Or like, you know, a lot of times when I'm like, when I was actually playing for Scarlet Violet BGC regionals, I would actually just base a lot of my ideas off of what was already working and just make some sort of like permutation. You know, it's going well so far. Just trying. This is my second day continuing on my shiny hunt for Cobalion, hoping that I can get lucky. I do have Sparkling Power, all types level 3 going, but I don't know. I'm over odds right now. But, you know, that's fine. I'm just hoping this doesn't go for, like, over 1,000 at least. Yeah, I was chatting about VGC a little bit earlier, just kind of talking about it. That's awesome, Indigo. So yeah, you probably understand then. Good old VGC. I'm trying to think why I was even talking about it in general. Oh, I was talking about Lucario. Because on this stream yesterday, I actually found a Shelpa Riolu, but I couldn't touch it because it would have just messed up the entire hunt. I only had a little bit of time left, so it would have saved, and then I would pretty much had abandoned the hunt. And I was just talking about how, like, back in X and Y, when I did a couple regionals, they didn't have open team sheets, so you didn't even know if it was Mega Lucario or Focus Dash Lucario. Yo, what's up, sir? Hold on, let me put on. Carrier Streak, it's good to see you. Yeah, I haven't played VGC at all this past year in general. I mean, I kind of had, like, whenever, like, I haven't even really played, like, for fun in a while. for Scarlet Violet. It was super exciting when it first came out, but yeah, I do feel like I was talking about how like centralizing the meta is good, but it's also like not my cup of tea typically when I play those type of games. Like I always try to run super spiced and go like very gimmicky. But like when I'd go to a regional, it wouldn't be. It'd be like more picking up like one of my 6 Pokemon, little spicy, as opposed to extreme gimmick. Because you do need consistency in a best out of 3. But when you're doing like online rank, you can kind of just go crazy. I am hyped for Pokemon Champions too. I am a little concerned with the fact that there will be its own form of currency in the game. Like, I just hate that it's going to be adopting some aspects of mobile gaming. But maybe it'll be worth it. I don't know. Yeah, Indigo, 100%. Like, the current Scarlet Violet meta is extremely centralized. Like I was saying, Blood Remain, anytime it gets any type of play, it's essentially on the top, like 4, it feels like. Like, it's literally on almost every. Like, you're almost like hurting yourself not running it. That's how good a lot of these Pokemon are. And like, I don't find that to be that fun, but it also does create a window where, you know, you could counter that, knowing that most people will run it. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of like a state of unhealth. Like whenever, I think there was early Scarlet Violet, it was like 50% usage or something of like Flutter Mane in some of the formats. Like that's not really, I feel like that's, the power creep is a little absurd these days. The cool thing about Champions though is they're probably going to be able to keep it interesting for a while just because they can like kind of like cycle through all the different gimmicks. Like they could have a completely Dynamax based format. They could have one where it's terastallization. So in theory, Champions could be far more interesting and keep your attention over a longer period of time. It was worse before when every time it was either Groudon, Xerneas, Kyogre, Xerneas, or Rayquaza, Xerneas. What gen are you speaking of when that happened? In Ultra Sun? I didn't see Ultra Sun and Moon. I didn't really play much of. That's like the only generation of Pokemon I can safely say I never actually completed the game. Mainly because like 2015, 2016, that's actually when I was moving to California originally. And I just couldn't like find time to play the game. And I just feel like something about it too, like maybe it felt very dragged out playing through the story. But yeah, I never competed for the C moves. I never played VGC at all or any kind of Pokemon during that era. Like pretty much, that's like the one hole I've never played. But I've been playing since Diamond pretty much. But back then it was single battles. Like the original Game Boy. Yeah, I honestly feel like I can understand, like, even though I didn't play that generation, just as an outsider looking in, understanding, like, Primals and, like, Rayquaza. I mean, I've watched a lot of, like, competitive BGC, like, you know, Wolflick and, like, other trainers. I know Rayquaza was, like, insane at that era. I mean, it apparently was, like, it almost, like, ruined BGC from what I understand. I don't know, though. Like I said, I never played. Hey, BJE, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they'll have Z moves. I mean, how will items work in Pokemon Champion? But, you know? Like, maybe that's, like, are they gonna try to put everything behind a paywall? Like, I don't really know 100%. I'm excited about Champions, but I do. It has Z moves. Okay, so it's already confirmed that it has Z moves. I didn't know that. So I wonder how they're gonna try to balance out the meta. Maybe there'll be like a wild format where you can pretty much do whatever, and you can like pull off like absurdly strong combos. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Like an unranked, or maybe even just like a completely different ranked format, like wild format. You know, like because a lot of games like I'm thinking of like Hearthstone, for example. It's like a card game, and there's like a format where pretty much any card that's ever been introduced in the game, things that are like even considered overpowered at this point, you could run them in this format and make the most just like game breaking combos that, you know, can be fun in its own regard. Like imagine a format where you can Dynamax a mega Pokemon. Like that would be I don't, that just sounds like a Pokemon Go glitch at this point. That's like the closest people have ever gotten to that. Because I have seen people, I don't know, I think it like got like bugged out or whatever, but something like a Pokemon that could Mega Evolve and Dynamax, I've seen that people could like Dynamax their Mega briefly in Pokemon Go. But I think it's not able to happen. Yeah, Indigo, that's actually a great, that's cool, because I was actually talking about that yesterday on stream. I was thinking it's like a live service game, and it might end up becoming like the hub for competitive Pokemon. And in a way, like, you know, like updating with each gen, like you're saying with Gen 10, whatever the gimmick may be, which I've heard is rumored to be centralized around weather. But it would be very interesting if they did that, because then that means they can actually separate like competitive Pokemon from the main series games entirely. You know? Because when they're making like Scarlet and Violet this day, like those type of games, they have to consider how these how Pokemon would function within the base game and also online. Like that determines, you know, like the regional decks and all that, you know, what type of Pokemon are allowed in that game. So if the main series games are now just going to be purely about like story, shiny hunting, like battling will probably still be a part of the game, but probably not on the level of, like, I don't know actually. But I guess it could just, I just feel like it leaves more room, even programming wise, for the game to kind of just like strengthen what their intentions are. Yeah, I've looked at some of the leaks for Gen 10. I don't know how much of it is true, you know. I feel like a lot of the leakers that have been leaking typically have been credible in the past, and maybe there is some, you know, maybe there is a real insider leaking the stuff. Yeah, the new home of BGC, that's awesome. By seed Pokemon? Wait, what do you mean by seed Pokemon? Do you think at some point they will release another Pokemon game, like a Pokemon Champions 2, or do you think essentially Pokemon Champions is a live service game that will just exist pretty much for now moving forward, and that will just always be retroactively updating with every single generation? You hope with Gen 10, because Champions they don't focus on any online battles. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like I feel like that there's a good chance for that, is that they'll kind of like finally separate these two dynamically different aspects of Pokemon. Because, you know, even though I'm sitting here shiny hunting, I am absolutely more of a battler. That's why I still play Pokemon, I feel like, to this day. Like, I've never really been, I guess, moved by the stories or characters in Pokemon games. Like, I feel like I'm not compelled by it on that level. Like, the lore behind Pokemon and their designs and attention in the region, like, I think there's a lot of care put into all of that, and I find that fascinating. But very rare I like have a character in a Pokemon game that I'm just like, that's memorable or I really care about that character. Battling is definitely like probably one of the more intricate aspects of Pokemon. Seed Pokemon are a new type of basic with infinite variation. So you mean like they can look different, or what do you mean? Like, is there like some sort of new metadata that's going to be added to each Pokemon? Like, I'm not really understanding what you're trying to say. Like, are they trying to add more personality and variety? I mean, it would be interesting if they were somehow able to add some like depth to how Pokemon look, more than just like form differences and gender differences. So like a Jigglypuff that is a fire or ice type is how I've heard it explained. What? Every person's will look different. Oh, hey, Conto Clark. Shout out to you, homie. One of my VGT friends, actually, Conto Clark. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well, man. That makes sense. Similar to, like, Spinda's dots. That's a good comparison. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. You've heard some of the rumors, Conto Clark. By the way, I saw your post. I mean, I know you saw it, but shout out to Conto Clark. He's actually a jeweler. He just recently made his first couple. I think he made 2 TikToks, maybe 1, promoting his little business. Oh, that's pretty cool. So they actually, so it was just like a scrapped feature from the past. They never truly introduced it. Oh, I see. I thought I saw a notification that you posted one, and then it didn't take. So yeah, that's what I was. This hunt. I'll go 5. I mean, I'm seeing it spawn in, so I assume I'm doing right. Yeah. You got all your shinies right, Sir Curious Dracus. In ZA. Oh, I thought you got them already. Oh, I didn't. I mean just like the Georgia Justice and the Aeon duo. Is Gimmighoul? I thought it wasn't. That was just like a normal Pokemon. So you have all the legendary. Oh, there's actually an event coming up in Pokemon Go later this month where you can potentially get a shiny Gimmighoul out of that bag that spawns them whenever you send a postcard Scarlet and Violet. You get the bag, whatever. It'd be cool to try to get a shiny that way. I feel like the odds would probably be good. Kind of reminds me of when they did the Meltan ones back in the day. I feel like they occasionally still do the Meltan mystery box. Shiny chance to go. Yeah, I think it's actually coming up next week. I think it's like a Lunar New Year event. You know, because like the coin or whatever, so they're trying to give me goal. Have a shiny chance. Alright, let me stop for today. Boy. I'm actually like almost caught up to one. Been watching it like the past year or so, kind of casually, but I've watched all like over like 100, over like 11,000, and I could safely say I feel like it's too short. I know it seems like a bizarre thing to say, but it's that good. Like, yeah, there's some filler for sure and some pacing issues, but like the payoff of the story is absurdly good. I legitimately do not think there's ever been a better fictional story told during our generation. It's kind of like, you know how like a lot of people view like Lord of the Rings as like one of the best fictional stories in a way? Like I legitimately feel like this is like, kind of like, I don't know, like I don't want to spoil anything, but like, it's so bizarre to watch a show that's been going on for 25 years and binging it in like a year, and it's still ongoing. Because there's stuff I watched recently that just came out within the last year, like last year, for example. And I'm just looking at it, like, how is it possible this just gets better? I know I like sometimes rant about it, but like, I'm not normally a big fan of like main characters and like shonen type things. Like I never really was a big fan of Goku. Like I think I like Goku more now that I'm like older and I kind of understand more like the context of Goku. Cause I don't think like the American version really like portrayed Goku accurately. Cause he's technically like you can kind of get he's like a country bumpkin. But I guess in the Japanese version he actually has like a kind of like a hillbilly kind of accent. And I'm like, dude, if they would have made Goku sound like a southern person, it would have been so much funnier. Am I a fan of Red? Wait, which Red? Like you mean like the character in Pokemon manga? I honestly never really read the original manga, but the thing is, like, I feel like Luffy as a main character is just so interesting. Because I think it's more of a realistic depiction of how people are virtuous to a degree, like, not like some just like good versus bad guy stuff like, I'm always fighting for justice. Like, that's just like not reality. And people that are like that in real life are like the worst at like realistic. Like, let's be honest, like they don't live in reality. But like Luffy is an interesting main character because he's not like really like good versus evil. Like, I mean, the whole world of One Piece is completely nuanced. Like there's no real, like the Marines are, a lot of times people are like, oh, the Marines are the bad guys, but they're really not. Like there's actually like people that work for the Marines that are just normal people doing their job who actually do believe they're fighting for justice and all that. There are like evil people in the Marines for sure, and like they do like a lot of times are associated with the world government, which is like a big thing at one. But like they're like literally Luffy and his crew are pirates, but like they're also like it's very interesting. It's super nuanced, and like Luffy, he's like literally he only cares about his friends and food. If you feed him, you're pretty much his friend, and that's what happens majority of the time in One Piece. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna save this country because I'm a good person and I want to do the right thing. It's like, oh, this person just happened to feed me, and now you're my friend. Like he's a very like his idea of liberation is like self-serving. Like I just want to do what I want to do. Like that's the whole point of like Luke as a character. And like he's super powerful. Like he's like literally like broken, like OP powerful from day one in the show. But like he has so many flaws just as a person. Like he almost dies like multiple times. And like he's never like it's never like, oh, I need to save my crew. Like, oh, my crewmates are in trouble. I'm the captain. I need to save them. Like, literally, his crew is like capable of like getting business done. And it's like one of the coolest aspects of the show is like they don't use Luffy as like this like plot device where he like always just saves the day. It's like everyone is capable, and like I don't know. It's like super interesting. I'm like, whoa, he's like one of the coolest characters. Like he just represents like liberation in its purest form. Like realistically, like I just want to be free. You know, I'm not a good guy because then I'd be obligated to fight the bad guys. And if I don't want to fight the bad guys, like, you know what I mean? Like that's his whole point as a character. Super cool and interesting. But like even beyond that, just like the world building in One Piece, like even like the parallels, like it's just like people, it's a super political show, but I think people view it in the wrong lens, you know? Like they don't really understand the nuance of like the politics of it all. Not, I mean, I'm not saying no one understands, but I see a lot of things like people talking about Luffy as a character, you know, like he would like fight these whatever, and it's like I really don't think you understand Luffy. I think he goes away just to like use violence or like things that like I don't know, you know what I mean? It's just like weird. But you know, it's a discussion that I think is healthy to have in general, and it's like, you know, realistic. Just a mirror of our world some ways. People are going to see what they want to do. I think the interesting thing about there's an expression when if all you have is a hammer, then everything is a nail. Essentially meaning like if you think a certain way about life, you're always going to see that aspect of life everywhere. You know, if you're only equipped with one way of looking at the world, that's all you will ever receive, and you're gonna miss out. It's like the same idea as like, are you a glass half full or a glass half empty? But I think One Piece is legitimately like peak fiction, and I cannot recommend it enough. Like I just feel like if you don't like One Piece, it's just because you have not watched or you haven't read the manga. Like I'm literally like about to be like 40 years old in a couple years, and I've watched the show for the first time, and I'm a filmmaker. I went to school for film and animation, and I'm watching it, and it's not even about like the art style of it. That's what got me into it, because I was like, the designs are bizarre. I love the wackiness of the world building. It's super interesting, but the actual story and like what it's trying to tell you as a viewer and convey is so nuanced and deep, and just like you never know what's happening in a lot of ways. Like I feel like it's just one of the most, how the hell can you have a show or a manga go on for this long and it's actually only gotten better? Like the payoff is absurdly good. And like there's no other thing I could think, it like has ruined other media for me. It's that good. Like I just look at everything and I'm like, wow, I cannot believe, like Star Wars for example, I'm like, I can't believe Star Wars just sucked though. Like it's like, how did Star Wars fall off so hard? You know, and it's like when I was a kid, I used to be obsessed with the world building of Star Wars. Like, wow, like what happens after Return of the Jedi? And there was like all this like extended universe stuff to like consume, but like I feel like there's never been any show that I've ever been able to watch and I was like, holy crap, it like perfect. And it's like, imagine how much better One Piece is being in Japan and Japanese, like knowing the Japanese language. It's like all the like attacks and all the things and all the references in it are completely pop culture based, and like their attacks, like the gum attacks or whatever, like if you don't know, Luffy's like a rubber man, and like everything that they do is a pun, like literally, like it's like even funnier in Japanese. But like the show still like translates amazingly in all like other languages. Like it's not gonna hit the same, but it's still just that freaking good. But I guess like I just love it. It's like literally like so good. I wish I could like forget the whole show and rewatch it again. Like it's that freaking, and it's like, yeah, it could always end. Like whenever they find eventually the One Piece or whatever, it could be like, yo, thank you Maceo for the follow. It could be like disappointing, but from what I've understood about Oda, he already knew how the ending will be, and he's even like kind of vaguely talked about it, because people speculate it's going to be something like, oh, it's the friends we made along the way, like a very cliche type thing. And like he's already kind of said like that's not what it's going to be. But he said like people are going to be surprised and love it. Like that's what Oda said. And like as someone who's literally watched almost all of it, like I probably have like 30 or 40 episodes left. I'm caught up to the current aired episode. I have been surprised and shocked and just like compelled by the entire like story so far. Like it's just so mind-blowingly good. And I'm like, holy crap, like this is peak fiction. This is like the main character Luffy, like it's almost like meta. It almost is like a very meta story. Like it like almost like entertains the idea of the medium it's being told in. And it's just so fast. like I love all types of shows in general that like don't need to sit here and give you like a big premise of what's going on. It just does stuff. Thank you, Maceo. You actually shiny hunt Latios in the same moment. Good luck on your shiny hunt for Latios. What happened to the LucasArts sold to Disney and chose not to bring? Yeah, 100% Carrier Strike. That's like the main issue. Like Disney has done some good. Like I think Andor was surprisingly good, being a Disney, you know, funded Star Wars show. It legitimately is probably the best Star Wars that's come out since the original trilogy. But like, yeah, like there's so many things they did that were just bad. Like I feel like the sequel trilogy is like a fever dream. Like I mean, you could even argue like the prequel's not that great. I think people revere them a lot more now, and I think having the Clone Wars TV show cartoon, it actually like contextualized that era a lot better. But like, yeah, I feel like Star Wars kind of like, unfortunately, there's no going back. Like they've done so much damage to the franchise. They've essentially like Andor should have been huge, way bigger than it was. Like it's seriously like that good. But yeah. Like I love media that depicts good and evil in nuanced ways. You know? Because that's how real life is. There aren't just good and evil sides of anything. There's opportunists, there's exploitation, there's people that actually believe they are on the right side of history, all that, you know? Like they're legitimately, they think that. I don't know how they could think that based on the fact that they're living it, but, you know, they just have such extended knowledge of the world. Really. I don't know, it's kind of like narcissism, honestly, at that point. Sorry, I'm like getting, that's like a little off topic, but, point being is like Star Wars sound just like lost. Like, I'll probably take my daughter to go see the Grogu and Mandalorian movie, but like I feel like Mandalorian's not that bad. I'm not a big hater on Mandalorian like some of the people do. I actually like that they tried to hit upon the Mandalore and like the Mandalorian lore more in the most recent season that they did, season 3. But I think like when you have shows like The Acolyte, and then it's like legitimately just bad. And then like the actors try to call all the like Star Wars fans like toxic masculinity and white supremacists and shit. Like, dude, you're so disconnected with reality. Like that is just an insult to like everyone. And like everyone should be mad at that, like realistically. Like it's just such a like such an insult to people's intelligence. Say that. It's manipulative. It's just not what was going on. Like I watched that whole series with an open mind. And it's just like not good. Like it got canceled. I was actually shocked it got canceled because like usually things just don't get canceled. But it's like, yeah, of course it got canceled. It sucked. It was just like no way near quality control. It was just like what? It wasn't even like Star Wars. It was just like some weird fever dream. Like Andor was awesome because it kind of like for the first time in a Star Wars media, it actually made the Empire feel like a fascist regime. But also it like kind of showed that within like rebellion there's also corruption as well. And also it showed that, you know, the dark side of rebellion, like how, you know, people will self-sacrifice just to send a message, which is like I feel like I even see that shit on TV today. Like it's like people really think it's all like roses, but like a lot of times it's like completely emotionally manipulated. Like you're like emotionally manipulated by events, and like they're almost like created. Like sacrifices are made just to purely create an emotional pull. And like even within like the Empire, they depict some of the people as like they're just doing their job. Like they're not even, they don't even see themselves as like these space Nazis or whatever. They're just literally, they think they're just like normal law-abiding, like whatever. And I love that nuance. It's like, because that is how the world actually is. You know, it's not as black and white. Like I love that in Andor, there's like these factions of rebels that are like borderline terrorists, and they end up, you know, doing things to like damage the Empire, but at the cost of like losing trust of the general civilization public. You know what I mean? It's like they use violence as their means to an end against, you know, the oppressor, which ultimately like turns most normal people against your god. Like people that actually think passionately about the world and not like given to their emotions. It's super interesting. Yeah, like the destruction of the Death Star was definitely a terrorist attack, but like it's all about point of view. You know what I mean? Like obviously, like from the perception of the Rebel Alliance, like the galaxy, the good thing, the Death Star was conquered. But like it's kind of hard to explain because it's like not as like black and white. It's not like they were terrorists, but it is like technically like a terrorist act. You know? Like I'm trying to think how to describe it. Cause I like that you're like thinking like that, but I'm trying to think how do I like keep in the like topic here. Cause I agree, like I think like the portrayal of like the original movies, like you don't really get to see the impact of like the deaths on Eldaron or like is that the name of the isn't that the name of Princess Leia's planet that gets blown up at the beginning of A New Hope? Like you don't really understand that like there's even just normal people that work for the Empire too that aren't like they're, it's like an office job to them kind of. Like I think even just like the normal day people in the galaxy, like I like Andor because you kind of see how they are affected by the rule of the Empire. how their normal everyday lives. It's like not about Jedi. It's not about like space wizards and all that. It's really about like normal and the impacts and what actually has to be done in these situations. But like on top of it, it's like I don't know, it's just like there's like a lot of nuance, you know. It's like there's a lot of like, I guess like political violence in Star Wars, realistically. Like it's like, I think it's like understandable to look at it more like Alderaan is the Death Star target in the movies. Yes. Oh yeah. So like you see all these people die instantaneously, but it's almost more campy in the original movies. Like even like stormtroopers and such. My gosh, others. Just to keep things interesting. I think like the in regards of like the cool thing about the nuance of the Rebel Alliance portrayal in Andor is just generally like that not all good rebellion is good. Not all people that are part of the rebellion are good. Some people are opportunists exploiting the cause, and not all people that are on the perceived same side of something can actually functionally achieve that goal together because their worldviews are entirely different. Realistic. Like that's kind of the point I was trying to make about the like portrayal of nuance of good and evil. Like there's factions within the Rebel Alliance that are actually more detrimental to the cause of fighting the Death Star than they are actually, you know, getting it done. And like whenever they portray these acts of violence that end up like causing public, like the public people in the Star Wars universe to like view them as terrorists or whatever, they're actually harming their cause more than they're actually doing good, and it's a self-serving like act realistically. Which means like why are you even really truly like, you know what I mean? Like it's interesting. But even like within like the good factions of the Rebel Alliance that's portrayed in the Rebellion in Andor, there's like a self-sacrifice they had to make. Like with a whole platoon of innocent like people that are on their side, they had to like let them be caught and get murdered just to like help form their narrative and like continue their operation. Like they had to legitimately like toss people under the bus that didn't deserve to die. And they didn't, and like they had to trick them and not like lie and manipulate their own people on their cause just to like benefit the greater picture of the cause. Like that shit happens all the time, you know? They call them useful idiots these days. Like you are literally being told by someone who will never do the thing that they want you to do for them, but you'll go out and do it and then like pay the ultimate price. They did, but they did do that Mandalore in the Night of a Thousand Tears. I kind of forget the yeah, that's his argument in Andor. That's why Luthien is kind of like an interesting character, because he's like bearing this big weight of like all the decisions he had to make, all the sacrifices of people. I mean, you even see it. Like, I don't want to spoil too much of the show, but it is a good watch. I think it's like very fast. Like, I don't know. I thought it was just like one of the most gritty media. Like, I'm surprised Disney made it. I guess ultimately is what I'm trying to say. I was kind of shocked Disney made something that wasn't so black and white. You know? I mean, granted, you got to give it to the Tony Gilroy and the directors and screenwriters to come up with that. But I was generally blown away. I am. But even with that said, I still feel like One Piece is like one of the best. Like, you know, I still feel like One Piece is like peak. It's like, I think about it a lot actually, like the lessons Oda is trying to teach us as a viewer through his story. Like every main character in One Piece has gone through some sort of trauma that they're kind of facing, and that's like part of their like character development. It's super fast. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like even like the perceived weak characters of the Straw Hats are actually like powerful or, you know, useful in their own ways. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not trying to say like there aren't good shows or media out there. Again, like it's not like I've watched every movie, read every book out there, but I see this common consensus with One Piece fans, and like after like consuming pretty much most of the story, I just confidently feel like it's seriously like one of the best stories I've ever read or like learned about. It's so good. I feel like the writer like a genius. And like it's like a testament to his skills as like a storyteller. But yeah, I mean at the end of the day I'd say like, I mean also if you didn't know, the manga is actually in the top 10 highly grossed like fictional whatever literature of all time. I think it was like 8th place Oda in One Piece right now. And this is like comparing stuff like Shakespeare. I think even the Bible might even be on the list, but it's kind of nuts to think something that hasn't even been around as long as these other works of art, like it's like conquering the stat. And I can only assume, especially if Oda ends One Piece on a good note, which I feel like he's going. Like I feel like it's probably gonna like end in a way that like, I don't know. I just have faith that it's gonna end properly. I feel like once that happens, more people are gonna feel compelled to even get into it. I mean, it's why you see this like reboot of the series in general. Like they're already like, while the manga and the anime, like the first adaptation of the manga is already ongoing, they're already making a adaptation of the anime that's like more streamlined. Like they're trying to like redo the entire show so it's not as long. Like fix some of the pacing issues, just kind of hit upon the key points of the story. And just like, why would they do that unless it was just like that great of a story? Like I've never heard of a story that's being like adapted in multiple different ways while it's still ongoing the way this has. Like there's like Game of Thrones, but like Game of Thrones is ruined. Like I feel like most people would agree the final season of Game of Thrones was anticlimactic and just kind of like ruined everything prior to it. But like I just feel like One Piece, I mean I really hope Oda doesn't like pass away before he's done with it, but dude, it's seriously like, I don't know, if you're someone that's even remotely interested in watching One Piece or getting into it, you should do it now before the One Piece is actually found out what it is, or like, because it's gonna be hard to not see spoilers at that point. And the thing is, even if you've seen some minor spoilers of the show, I promise you, unless you were like actively looking for details or you know stuff about it already, you're not gonna know what next is coming. Because I've gotten all the way up to where I'm at, like where I'm like almost virtually caught up to the show, and I still cannot believe it. And I thought like things were ruined at that point because, you know, obviously like how am I gonna avoid seeing stuff of One Piece on my algorithm after like, you know, getting into it a little bit. But I was like kind of surprised how much I was able to watch and never be spoiled of anything that happened. And like, dude, honestly, it's just like some of the best fiction I've ever seen in my life. trying to get my daughter into it, but the one day I tried to get her to watch the first episode, she was so tunnel visioned on wanting to watch Sailor Moon, so I couldn't really get her into it. But I feel like if she watched some of it with me, she'd start to like. She typically will watch. I mean, she watched like Return of the Jedi with me recently, which I was kind of shocked. She actually sat down and watched it. But she knows some Star Wars. Like she knows who Baby Grogu is, or Baby Yoda. And it's so funny because Yoda's in that, and I was like, "That's actually the real Yoda." She's like, "Why is he the real Yoda?" It's so funny. Let me tell you, it's just so funny because he like dies too. See, that's the thing. Like, that's what everyone thinks the moral of One Piece will be, is like the memories or friends we made along the way. But Oda's already said that's not actually what the ending is going to be. And I feel like if that was the ending, I feel like it's a fair ending. Because it does make sense, you know, when you realize like the whole point of Luffy as a character is he just doesn't want to be told what to do. Like that's really the whole extent of it. That's why he wants to be king of the pirates. Because if you're king of the pirates, no one can tell you what to do. Like that's literally what I take away from Luffy as a character. Like his whole dream is just to be king of the pirates, just so he can do whatever he wants. Not to be powerful, not to reign or own territory, or like, you know, he doesn't care about that stuff at all. He just wants to be liberated, be free. And it's super cool because like, I don't want to spoil anything, but his character is just like one of the coolest. Like, I don't know, I think he's like actually a great role model in a lot of ways, because I think it's healthy to be like self-serving. It's more realistic in a lot of ways. Like people who virtue signal and stuff all the time are like constantly have to talk about like all the bad things that are happening in the world that they're clearly not going to be able to do anything. Like those people are just like lost. You know what I mean? Like they're completely manipulated by the things at play that we live in today. They're not able to actually enjoy their lives. They're sitting here like emotionally brought over like events that they probably would have never known about 20 years ago. I guess like what I'm trying to say is like it's like more realistic that people are just kind of like dealing with the things that directly are in their lives every day. Things you see at your front door, people you interact with daily. Good old Luke. Definitely one of the more interesting main characters I've ever like seen, especially in like a anime. But I don't know, I think he's like so interesting because like literally the first time you meet Luffy, he's kind of like a dick. Like I didn't know much about One Piece, but I always just assumed like he's like this goofy, like happy, over the top, like nice character, and I hate that. I just do not like that archetype. I think it's really fake and stupid, you know. But then when you watch the very first episode, he's just like making fun of this like boy who's like perceived as like weak and like scared. Like Luffy's just like, I don't like weak people like you and stuff. Like it's just so interesting. Like wait, what? This dude's like literally talking shit on this dude like immediately. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm like, I was not expecting him to be that like crass or whatever. But I'm like, all right. Let's see where this goes. He's just so cool. Definitely one of the like. I just think he's like one of the more relatable characters too. Like I feel like his power, like even though he's like super insanely powerful, like I said, he just has his like balance of like flaws in an individual. Like I love that he's like kind of stupid too. Like Like, it's not even that he's like really stupid. He just like doesn't really pay attention to details. He doesn't care. Like a lot of times, Luffy, he doesn't call anyone by their actual name. He just calls them like what they look like or like some butchered version of their name. It's so funny. Like, there's so much humor. Like, I don't even want to ruin anything, but like, I've laughed out loud so much watching through the series, and I just wish like I like if someone else was able to take that journey, I would vigorously live it out because it's that freaking good. Like one of my like all my friends who have like started watching again, they've like you know agreed. Good old Monkey D. Luke. Yeah, I think like literally the very first episode sold me on the show. But it was like maybe like a couple hundred episodes into it where I just realized, dude, this is actually the best anime I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to sit here and say like I've watched a crazy amount of anime, but I've definitely watched a lot. Like especially like back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Like that was the westernization of oh my! I got it! Thank you, Toonami. I was thinking about Toonami back in the day. Alright. Should I try to catch this in a different ball? Let's try. I don't even know. Alright, let's just fight it. 30 levels higher than me. Yo, I caught it in a heavy ball. Yo, look at that. Dude, I still got some time left in this zone. Maybe I'll like try to see if I can find any random shinies. Dude, I got it. Thank you for being that. See, it's nice to get lost in the conversation. That way. Maybe find shiny. Dude, actually, Kanto Clark, I forget what that guy, I'm trying to remember what his name is. What's that one guy that was a streamer? I can't remember. It's not scientist, but it's like crap, I can't remember it right now off the top of my head. He's like a BTC player that you know. Alchemist. That guy, he's a big fan of One Piece also. I remember I was talking to him about it at one of the regional tournaments. Yeah. I should just name this like Tsunami or like Luffy or something. That's like what I was just ranting about for a while here. I just want everyone to watch it in fun. I feel like the world would be a better place. Dragonite homie, yeah. Alright, here we go. First, let me put my McDeer note away. Alright. So I had to kind of sacrifice that Shelfa Riolu, but I did get a random Lucario and Riolu. Not a Shelfa, but... Does anyone want a Honedge shiny? I have like... I have way too many. I've already given one away. Like legitimately, if you want one, I'll just trade it to you right now. If you're watching. Let me bring Cobalion real quick. That's what? Oh wait, it's in my party. I was like, where is Epsilon? I'm like, I must have put it in my party as. Alright, here it is. And I caught it in the heavy ball, which is pretty sick. Yeah, I think I'm gonna name this one Toonami. It kind of has like, its colors kind of remind me of Toonami a little bit. Just because I was talking about Toonami as I caught it. Like, that's kind of what I was trying to hint upon when I was saying the westernization of anime. Toonami played a huge role in that. Like Dragon Ball Z back in the day and all that. Pretty sure like Sailor Moon and like Gundam. Toonami, baby. Bringing my childhood back. There it is. Old Toonami. Thanks, Toonami. You got me picked on when I was in school, but now anime is mainstream. Thanks to you. Seriously though, like, when I was a kid, if you liked Pokemon still, even though Pokemon never went out of popularity, like, you were just like, kind of, it's funny, there's memes back in the day where it was like, you grew up with Pokemon, and then high school, you got bullied for liking it still, but then college, it became super cool again to like Pokemon. And I think ever since then, it's just always been like, well, I actually have no idea like how kids think, but that was my personal experience growing up in the 90s. I didn't know they made no money off of it. That's sad. Toonami was awesome, yeah. Tom and the strip. The reiterations. They had like the little like, they actually had their own little like cartoon technically with like Tom. Like where there'd be events. They had like a rebranding of the whole Tom character at one point. Like, anyways, I'm gonna end my stream here. I just wanted to shiny hunt Cobalion, get it caught. I'm pretty happy about that. Thanks for tuning in today, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button on your way out. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Sass Squad's getting stronger each and every day. You have a good morning and afternoon, wherever you're tuning in. Catch you in the next one. Take care until next. Out.